Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1, and we've actually got some F1 to talk about podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
And Lee.
Eventually.
We have news. There are things. It's actually proper, actual proper F1 stuff. We can talk about F1 more than we can talk about non-F1 tonight.
Yeah, your intro was surprisingly short because you said Formula One podcast for the first time in...
Because it's actually going to be a Formula One podcast.
Yeah,
How are we going to get the message out to the guys that aren't listening at the minute because there's no Formula One on? We need like a signal or something to let them know that it's not just gibberish. There's actually stuff to talk about.
You mean something like a bat signal, but for three legs, four wheels?
A Kimoa symbol.
Yeah, well,
we had an app. An app that could track all our listeners, so when they were close to each other, they'd know.
That's called stalking.
I'm sure it's available, but only through 5G.
Now, come on. We all know we're only in this mess because... No, wait, I'm not even going to go down that route.
It's Ica Clock.
We're only in this mess because somebody wanted to have a 4K FaceTime conversation with a bat.
The thing is, I didn't even cook it. That's what I don't understand. Well, just go bit of barbecue. Just come on, you gotta find someone who knows how fire works somewhere.
You can't just stick an animal in a hot broth and then start eating it. You can't.
Well, the WWF have been campaigning for years against the trade in rare animals. They got the wrong definition of rare.
With a steel chair, even if you hit it with a steel chair, it's not cooked.
That's one for Brian Cox. How many times do I have to hit a chicken with a steel chair in order to transfer the amount of energy to cook it?
Millions and millions.
Probably.
But it'd be very profound.
Yeah. Well, everybody, the answer to that lies in the mysteries of science.
You went into John Lennon there for a second.
A little bit, sorry.
He's not far away, though. He's not far away from a John Lennon, is he?
No, not really. Mancunian John Lennon, perhaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just seen something very disturbing on Discord. Someone on Tumblr actually calculated that.
Someone on Tumblr's got too much time on their hands.
God, and how do our patrons know this? Come on.
Was the patron the person on Tumblr?
I'm more surprised Tumblr's still a thing.
Oh my god! Right, we've gone south. Let's bring it back. So, Formula One. As we know, Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel parted company next week, which led to last week. Oh god, our parting. I was trying to say for next season and last week at the same time. It's not going well. So, Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel have announced that they are parting company at the end of the season, which led to us recording an extra show, practically an extra show last week, the longest jump cut ever. And by Wednesday, the driver market had properly kicked off into the silly season. I think Sainz to Ferrari was the first announcement, wasn't it?
It actually wasn't. It was Ricciardo to McLaren that was confirmed about 2 hours before. Which I think kind of in itself confirmed Sainz to Ferrari, but yeah, McLaren got in there first.
Well, yeah, low key. Also, McLaren announcing Lando Norris for 2021. That seems to be glossed over by most other people as well. The announcement was Daniel Ricciardo has signed for McLaren to drive alongside Lando Norris for 2021. Most people glossed over that because Lando's contract is actually up at the end of 2020. So he's been retained for a third season. So we know for a fact that Lando's in at McLaren, Daniel's in at McLaren. That pushes Carlos Sainz to Ferrari, which pushes Vettel where exactly?
And this is going to be the question. We'll get into the Ferrari speculation in a bit, the Vettel speculation in a bit, because looking at the first two confirmed moves. Carlos Sainz going to Ferrari, he's going there as a number two.
Totally.
I think if that's the intention, then Ferrari have just opened the door to more problems for themselves. Because I think Carlos Sainz is better than Charles Leclerc.
This is what Martin Brundle was saying on the Sky F1 show this afternoon, was that Ferrari probably have signed him as a number 2, but that will be a mistake.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And was it you that found the Mattia Binotto statement where it's just like, we want to turn Charles into a winner, and Carlos can help. And Carlos can help with that. It's like, Carlos is not going there to just sit there and be a good boy and do what he's told.
But the thing with Carlos as well, unless they start throwing him under the bus and sticking him in the pits when he doesn't need to go into the pits and stuff like that, like what we would consider a standard Ferrari maneuver, I suppose. I think like Sainz is quicker than Charles to the point where it won't take him too many races to just naturally be ahead through race pace. So it won't. It's not going to be. I think he'll be magnitudes ahead of him because Charles Leclerc has proven to be as fast as a rubbish Sebastian Vettel. But that's all he's done. All he's done is being slightly better than a Vettel firing on like half a cylinder from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, he's not been top level Vettel for a while, has he? Which is something we discussed in the really long jump cut last week.
20 plus minutes, a new jump cut record.
It was, yeah. Do we think Sainz has made a good decision? Because we know that other drivers have made poor decisions by going for top level teams in the past, and it hasn't worked out for them. And their potential race winner, stroke world champion, just falls away into the ether and gets forgotten about. Do you think Carlos Sainz has done his career good by moving to Ferrari, or do you think he's potentially damaged it because Ferrari won't let Charles be number 2, if you know what I mean?
I think it's the right move because you don't know when that seat's going to become available again. I mean, we've seen with people like Perez, Hülkenberg, you can kind of see like, they would do well if they were in the top team, but that opportunity doesn't always open up. So if you're offered it, you kind of have to go for it.
Yeah.
I think he's made the wrong move.
I think it was like when Ferrari.
Sorry, go on, Paul.
When Ferrari signed Eddie Irvine. That was the only way that he was going to get into a top team.
That was it. That was the right move for Irvine, definitely at the time. Remember as well, it was before the precedent was put that like your Schumacher's bitch. It was before like he was the first bitch, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Irvine was Irvine signed before Schumacher.
I can't remember. They started the same year though, didn't they?
Yeah, they started the same year in '96 at Ferrari, but
yeah.
I think it was because it was a real massive shock because Irvine had been kind of quick, but also a bit of a liability at Jordan. And sometimes could show that he might win a race if he was put in the position, or could get a podium, or could very well put it into the wall and endanger the lives of 8 other drivers whilst doing it.
I've got it in my head that it was all announced at the same time because Ferrari came out with this announcement saying, "We've signed Michael Schumacher, Ross Brawn, and Rory Byrne from Benetton, and they're the dream team. I know Eddie Irvine's going to be driving the other car."
Yeah, it quite possibly could have been.
I mean, don't
I remember.
Don't forget, back then the internet was in black and white, so you had to wait a week for it to be published.
Yeah, and also I remember the shock of Schumacher. My stepdad had the Formula One magazine. He bought the Formula One magazine when Schumacher signed for Ferrari, and because it was such a big shock and big news, like Michael Schumacher's going to Ferrari, what? And I seem to remember the news that Irvine signed before Schumacher was a big shock. And then Schumacher was announced, and it was just like, oh my God. That's how I remember it. Might not be correct.
No, One for the historians. I'm sure somebody will be able to find it somewhere on the internet. Hint to everyone that's listening to the live stream.
Yeah, but just quickly, do you not think that there's more chance of McLaren? There shouldn't be more chance of McLaren fighting for a championship. In the sort of like short to long term. But Ferrari have got this knack of just falling over themselves, and now they've gone and got two really competitive drivers, which they've shown in the past they have no idea how to handle it when two drivers are going to be competitive with each other. I think there's a 75% chance in my head that McLaren will be able to fight for the World Championship next year with a Mercedes engine in the back of it instead of the Renault engine. And I would go as far as to say a 95% chance when you look at how they've developed over the few years. When 2022 comes, that McLaren will be a championship contender.
Yeah, I'm not sure 2021 will be a good year for them because they have to stick with this design and put a McLaren. Put a Mercedes engine in the back where they've designed for a Renault to go.
It didn't do badly for Braun, though, did it? Sticking a different lump in it.
No, but they did have to make some very final design changes at the last minute. I'm sure that McLaren will have, the ability to make some changes.
Yeah, but it's kind of the complete opposite of what Braun had, because Braun spent 2 years working on that one car. McLaren have got one car that's working for over 2 years. And having to make
even when it was announced, they were when the cars carrying over was announced, it was like the same day, wasn't it, saying that there is special concessions for engine changes. So like any alterations they have to do will be there. And to be perfectly honest, when we know that if there's something to be flexed in Formula One, it's going to be flexed until it fucking snaps. McLaren will probably end up turning that grey area into a slight advantage for them to change bits of the car that other teams probably aren't allowed to.
Yeah, maybe. I think they will be allowed to make minor changes, but the rule change is the big thing for McLaren, and they've learned from their mistake last time when they left it a year and then put the Honda in, which was so troublesome, as we covered many hours in this podcast. But the
3 years, I do believe.
But changing the engine a year before, or changing engine manufacturer a year earlier before that's the right way to do it. This is the engine manufacturer we want to push forward with. They're going to develop the car together for 2022, and they're going to be able to push forward as not as one, because obviously the Mercedes team is at the moment still a thing, but the relationship is going to be there going into that rule change rather than trying to build it after the rules have been changed. So I don't think 2021 is going to be a massive step forward for McLaren, but I do think 2022 it's essentially the reset that 2014 was, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Oh, I think they'll be the outsiders. But with them, what I mean is with the Mercedes engine in the back of it, I think they will be like solidly like one of the top three teams, like competing with whoever the third team is, like with Ferrari essentially, because I think Red Bull will probably have ended up jumping Ferrari. They're going to be there, and depending on what happens then, realistically, I think it's kind of unprecedented territory this year. We could end up with a surprise championship winner this year, just because of how odd and fast-paced the season's going to come at people.
Yeah.
And Vettel now has no incentive whatsoever not to drive into his teammate.
Correct.
Absolutely. Which they were so good at last year.
Do you know what? If Vettel can manage to drive without spinning,
big if, but go on.
Yeah, he is so much better at working a race out while he's in the car. It's something we've seen for a while with Vettel. And if he's out there from the first race just driving for himself, that could get very interesting.
Yeah, he might end up with a world championship when he ditches Ferrari to just drive for Vettel.
That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Vettel drives for Vettel now. You remember when Massa said that when he was dumped by Ferrari? Massive rise for Massa now, not for Ferrari. And Massa did okay, I think, in his last few races at Ferrari. But Vettel driving for Vettel, just in a car that just happens to be red, might be quite entertaining.
It'll be something. It'll be something to see because I mean Vettel hasn't driven on his own merits for a few years now.
Imagine if he does win the World Championship and then retires. Ferrari are going to feel like massive dicks.
Absolutely. Could you imagine that? Right, that I've been right all along. Let's pretend that because it's easy. Vettel goes out and has a smashing season.
How are those painkillers? How are the painkillers that you're on at the minute? They're not affecting you?
Strong, pretty strong. Vettel goes out and smashes it, and is the old Vettel that we remember in Red Bull. Charles Leclerc is what I think he is, which is at best a second driver, at worst a mid-grid driver, and they're going to be left with like a leaving world champion, and look at it, Charles Leclerc going, oh, he was our future.
So back in the real world,
I don't think it's out of question for Vettel to put Charles, even without championships, completely in the shade before he leaves.
I think it's within the realms of possibility.
I think he'll have a damn good go, but the issue is going to be if Ferrari going to actually let him, because I mean they can, they still have it in them to screw up his race, even if he's only driving for himself.
Oh yeah, but it'll be so obvious. Yeah, it would be so obvious, and I really don't think, because he is leaving, because like the deal's done, regardless of where he goes afterwards, we know he's not going to be in Ferrari. I don't think they can do that, because it will be too much of a media storm for Ferrari, even for Ferrari to just fuck over a 4-time world champion on his way out the door. That's not even in Ferrari's playbook.
I think the only press that Ferrari are concerned about is the Italian press, and they could spin the story that Vettel wasn't being a team player, and he needs to be taught a lesson, and we've had to bring it back into line. And the Italian sports press will swallow that up, because that is the kind of thing that they go for. Yeah,
but the fans won't. The Italian press will say what they want, but Ferrari fans for whatever faults they've got, there's two things: they fucking love Ferrari and they know Formula One and they understand Formula One. And when people do well in Ferrari, they support them and they get behind them. So even just if Vettel does do well, that'll be bad for Ferrari anyway, because your Ferrari fans will be going, well, why is our champion going? It's odd.
I mean, it's a strange thing for Ferrari to do. I mean, there's been stories coming out that he was never even offered any kind of deal, and it had all been decided over the winter.
Yeah, and that he pushed the story that he was leaving. Ferrari didn't want to announce anything, and it was him that leaked his own leaving story.
Do we reckon he leaked their IndyCar thing as well? Because that came out on the same day. Do we reckon Seb's just gone round texting everyone?
Just everything he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey Lewis, I'm sure we're really good friends. Well, this is what Ferrari are planning for the next 2 seasons. Good luck with your next 2 world championships.
I think it would be Toto that got that text.
Yeah, maybe it might be. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if anyone's privy to any confidential insider Ferrari information, there'll be a home for it at McLaren again. just
Vettel's
McLaren.
Well,
just drop it off at Speedy Copies in Woking.
Is that next to the Pizza Express?
You see, I couldn't have been in the Ferrari garage on that day because I was actually at Speedy Copy in Woking.
And Fernando Alonso rarely goes to Speedy Copies, so he remembers that day well.
Oh dear.
Excellent bantering.
Moving swiftly on. So Danny Rick to McLaren, is that the best move for him right now, or what?
Out of Renault is the best move, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was the move that you could have argued he should have made in 2018, but then obviously we wouldn't have Carlos Sainz at McLaren to then move up to Ferrari. But yeah, it's end of 2018. We know that he was in talks with McLaren and then plumped for Renault because of whatever lies they told them about how powerful their engine was going to be the next year. Remember when Christian Horner said that? We know what Renault have done to get hold of Danny. They've lied to him. Turns out Christian Horner was correct.
Well, I mean, what Cyril Abiteboul actually said to him was...
More of an incantation than a sentence.
Do you reckon that's it? Ricardo just didn't hear properly and went, all right, yeah, fine.
I bet he heard $40 million.
That bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that episode of Fawlty Towers, isn't it? You heard that well enough without your hearing aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think Ricardo to McLaren is a really good move for both. Actually, I think he's the right person to help bring Lando along as well. Bring him on a bit as Lando develops over the next couple of years.
Be Beavis to his butthead.
Yeah, that is going to be an entertaining pairing, if nothing else. Just the press briefings.
I am tired of that being the only thing people are talking about, though, is, how good teammates are they going to be? Yeah, they're going to make really good teammates because they're really good drivers. Yeah, I'm glad we'll get a couple of memes out of it, but fucking hell, can you think about sport?
Yeah. It's good friends.
Until we see Ocado a lap in anger. No, we fucking can't.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about as well is it's all well and good saying, aren't they going to be in there? Aren't they going to be good together? Yeah, let's see how close they are. Let's see how close they are in performance, and then let's see how often those fucking memes happen if that happens.
Yeah. I actually think Danny Rick will probably be. I don't know. Actually, I was going to say I thought Danny Rick would be, ahead of Lando, but that might take a little while to transpire because Danny Ricciardo's coming into a new team. Sometimes it takes you a little while to get your feet under the table. It did with him at Renault, if you remember. He was behind Hülkenberg to start with, and then he overturned that quite soon.
I think he overturned Hülkenberg, but I'd argue that he never truly got on top of that Renault.
No, never. He never got used to driving it. He may encounter the same problems at McLaren, but I think going to McLaren is a really good move for Danny Ricciardo. We mentioned, didn't we, about Vettel maybe going to McLaren, because they're such a data-driven team, much like Red Bull. I think Danny Rick will feel more at home with McLaren for that reason. It might feel more like a Red Bull organization thing, surrounded by data. Obviously, every Formula One team is surrounded by data. That's a really silly thing to say, but with the same kind of philosophy as his old team, rather than whatever philosophy Renault are putting in at the moment, which just seems to be shrug your shoulders, grunt, and walk off.
I mean, don't forget, Lando, when Lando and Danny are finally teammates next year, Lando's going to have an advantage because he'll have had a year in the car already.
But a Renault-powered car, not a Mercedes. All right,
the Renault-powered version of it. The Mercedes one will act differently, but he'll have had a grounding in the basics of that particular car for a number of races between 8 and 19.
How tall is Carlos Sainz?
Okay, Google. How tall is Carlos Sainz?
And all of a sudden, everybody's Google Nests have kicked off.
Because Ricciardo is one of the taller drivers, is he not?
Apparently, they're the same height, 2 centimetre.
Good Lord.
According to Google, they're both 1.78 meters. Which means they're shorter than me.
Chris, so are a lot of people.
Yeah, there is that, yeah.
I was going to sort of then verge off into a Hülkenberg taking Perez's seat at Sauber type kind of thing, and the fact that he never really fit in the car, but that will obviously not be an issue then if they're the same height.
Yeah, I would have said that Danny Rick was taller than Sainz as well. He looks slimmer, perhaps. Maybe that's the illusion. I always thought Mark Webber was really tall, but he's not. He was just always super skinny.
Yeah, it's like when you see Alonso stood next to somebody, and he actually looks like a jockey.
I think Alonso is short, though, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah,
not Anthony Davidson short.
No, I think
ridiculous.
I think Alonso's about 5'7", that same height as me.
That's pretty short, Paul. Sorry.
Again, you are unfeasibly tall, so...
Alonso is apparently 1.71 m.
So just a couple of inches shorter than Danny Rick and Carlos Sainz then.
This is the F1 Driver Hype podcast.
Sorry, I didn't actually really mean to start something there.
But no, apparently he won't have trouble fitting in the car.
I know where you were going with that, because some... Sorry, Paul, go on.
I was going to say, so apparently he won't have trouble fitting in the car.
Yeah. You can find it, though, can't you, sometimes where drivers... Nigel Mansell, for example, is too fat for the McLaren in 95. But you find it... Some drivers just don't adapt to cars. Danny Rick, like Lee just said, he never got on top of it. He never really felt comfortable with the Renault. And we heard, I think, in Drive to Survive, where he said, it's a racing car, so you should be able to drive with your eyes closed. But to really get on the limit, you need to know exactly what that car's going to do at any second. And he didn't feel that way with the Renault early in the season. And he probably didn't feel like that later on in the season either.
I mean, he did say, I think, at one point, don't think it was in Drive to Survive, but I think it was actually in an interview at a race. And I think it might have been, it was either Belgium or Italy, where he said, "I finally got to grips with this."
Yeah. It'd be interesting this year when the cars actually hit the track, because what I remember from testing, like all those decades ago, the Renault, when it actually got going properly in testing, didn't look too shabby, because it looked like kind of on the same pace as McLaren. It was a choice of like who was fourth between those two, and then what was Racing Point actually doing, wasn't it?
Well, I think it was who was fifth, because I think Racing Point ended up being fourth for most of the tests.
Yeah, but it was that thing of like, how is this going to how's last year's Mercedes actually going to translate in race pace, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true. But I'm sticking my neck out far enough to say that Ricciardo to McLaren is a career-saving move. If he hadn't been able to make the move out of Renault by the end of 2020. I think we would have seen one of those driver declines where they could have been great, but they've just completely fallen off. It'd have ended up in a Williams, or
his name would have become a verb for this podcast. Oh, he's Ricciardo'd it.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. You see, again, I don't think I don't think it has any bearing really on where Renault goes like this year, what their performance is like. But it seemed, regardless of how the car turned out, I think the relationship seemed so strained between Ricciardo and Renault. Even the way Cyril Abiteboul had a swipe at him on the way out the door, didn't he, about like needing a committed driver. It's clearly they weren't getting on.
You had a committed driver. His name was Nico Hülkenberg. You got rid of him.
Yeah, but then he made a snipe about him not having any podiums, didn't he? Do we think Cyril Abiteboul is just a bit of a bitch?
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a nice guy, does he?
No.
Yeah, he looks like that middle management guy that everybody knows, that he's never going to be happy, because he's always going to do well, but not quite as well as he thinks he should have done.
Dominic Raab.
Yes, absolutely. Do you know what? I don't think at this present moment in time there is anybody better you could have said.
Like the upside down turtle on a fence post. We know he didn't get there by himself. He has no idea what he's doing up there. So how did he get up there?
You see, we've got F1 to talk about, but there's still complete tangents. Next one. Some question marks to Renault.
Yeah. Apparently, Fernando Alonso is negotiating with the Renault team for about the availability of the seat for 2021. And a couple of places, including a very unreliable website that likes to make shit up, were saying that Liberty is stepping in to help fund this.
This has been formally denied by Liberty.
It has been formally denied. That's fine. As long as it's been formally denied. Because I was going to say that seems like a very strange thing to do. Well, the fans want Alonso, so we're going to help to pay to bring him back. That seems like you'd never get any new drivers in if you did that.
I don't think it's stupid. I don't think it would be stupid on Liberty's part, though. Look at IndyCar. Do you know what I mean? There is undoubtedly an Alonso effect with like viewers.
In that particular arena, there was, because he was jumping over to IndyCar. He missed the Monaco Grand Prix to do Indy the first time. That was a huge thing. But in terms of Alonso being in a Renault in Formula One, we've seen that before.
We have, but
with
what
varying degrees of success.
What I found interesting at the weekend was I watched the race, the Legends race, which was Fernando Alonso's first go at esports, and it didn't go well. He wasn't great at esports.
He's got his own team, hasn't he? Though.
Yes.
You would think he'd have had a spin at some point, but
his simulator was delivered 2 hours, I think it was, before the event happened.
So for the first three laps, he was still downloading Windows updates.
Pretty much. But
before tonight's podcast.
Their next race is the Indy 500, so I think that's why he's jumped in to do, because he wants to do the esports Indy 500 one. But anyway,
we had a seat for him last weekend in ours.
I know. But regardless of that, what the interesting thing was, where I was watching it on YouTube, and I was looking at the comments, and I think that there was something like 3,000 people watching it live at that point, and the amount of comments that were just people saying, "When's Fernando's race? When's Fernando's race? When's Fernando's race?" And then some very patient person was replying to them saying, "Half six, such and such."
Was it you? Were you
6.
the person?
No.
No, he was the one asking when the race was.
Patience for that. I haven't got the patience for that, nor the mathematical ability to quickly work out all the time zones. But there's an effect.
The thing is, though, Lee, you're kind of contradicting yourself here, because you're a little bit down on Lando at the minute because he's popular on the internet. Yet the internet wants Fernando back, and that's the best thing ever.
No, I'm not down on Lando because he's popular on the internet. I'm down on. I said that maybe he goofs around too much. There's a difference,
didn't he? He admitted that at the end of last season.
It's not just me. He said that.
Yeah, he said he needs to toughen up a bit and maybe be a bit more serious to have a better shot of success.
I don't get it, right? To be perfectly honest, I don't get this like small group of it's cool to hate Fernando all of a sudden. I don't understand where it's come from. The time in McLaren, all the way through McLaren up until when he left, we knew that was a guy outperforming a terrible car and a terrible engine. And I think when he said the GP2 engine quote, we all said it was the right, it wasn't a bad thing he said, because he meant it. Honda needed to hear something correct. Like that. Yeah, but Honda needed that embarrassment, I think, to move forward.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It was back in the Honda days when McLaren and Honda were really not getting on at all. But I don't think it's hate for Alonso. It's a case of, I feel it a little bit. I would quite like to see Fernando back, but at the same time, it's like there are a string of other drivers waiting to get into the sport, and you're going to bring back the guy who's like retired, and he had a great run, but his time was done. He had his donut celebration.
Is he still one of the best drivers in the world?
Don't know.
Well, I think he is. I don't know if he is or not. I do know he's better than any of the young drivers that could come through, and I do know he's better than a good chunk of the grid that's there right now. So I would prefer to get Fernando Alonso in that Renault for a couple of years than Jack Aitken.
Well, it would probably be Guan Yu Zhou if you put a young Renault driver in. The only reason that brings me nicely actually to this, the only reason I can see that you go for Fernando Alonso is if Renault wanted to go down the route of experienced driver, young driver. Because all right, Ocon's not a young driver anymore. He's had two and a half seasons in Formula One. Mm-hmm. And a season out, under the wing at Mercedes, waiting for a seat somewhere. So he's well versed in Formula One. He's not fresh faced by any means. But I could understand why Renault might not want Esteban Ocon to be a team leader alongside someone like Guan Yu Zhou or, as you said, Jack Aitken or anyone else that they might choose to pick from the pool of young talent. I can understand why that might be a problem. That's the only reason I can see for bringing Fernando Alonso back, because I don't think that Renault is going to be in a position to do anything in the next 5 years.
Not this year, definitely. Not next year, definitely. But the rule changes are going to be such a shake-up that's got to be Fernando's plan with this, I think. Is he knows he's going to come back to a shithole of a Renault. He knows that. Or if it's not a shithole, it's going to be like an upper mid-grid car. But who knows what happens in 2022? We're constantly hearing about them wanting to close the teams up, to have budget caps, to try and bring the teams together. I think Fernando Alonso, and he might be right, he might be wrong. I think he thinks if you can give him a car within half a second of the fastest car, I think he thinks he's worth half a second. He might be wrong, but if we've got a bunched up grid for 2022, that would be his opportunity to steal one. If he is as good as he thinks he is, to the point where I think he probably thinks he's the greatest driver that's ever lived.
The issue is going to be, after 2 years out of F1, has he still got it?
I think if he wasn't driving top flight motorsport, then you could count him out. But between WEC, what he's done in IndyCar, and bombing around the rest of the place, he's never retired from racing. He's been a professional, busy racing driver. He seems to have been at McLaren every other fucking weekend on the simulator. So it's not Jacques Villeneuve. It's not Jacques Villeneuve coming back to Formula One.
But going back to what you said about Ocon, he shouldn't come back. He's had a year out. He's not going to be able to hack it.
He's never going to be as good as Fernando Alonso.
Alonso's had some time out. I mean, when was his last race? You can't really count Dakar as top flight motor racing, because that is just.
You can count WEC though, but I don't think Ocon and Alonso can be counted in the same breath. That's the thing with Ocon is.
But it's been 9 months.
I don't
since...
think he was in. No, it's not just a time thing with Ocon though. I don't think he was impressive when he was in Formula One. That's the difference. I don't think Ocon showed that he was good enough to fall out of Formula One and come back.
No, I think he was too good to get binned in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think he was pushed aside for Stroll when Daddy Stroll bought the team, and I think he would either still be at that team or would have already replaced Valtteri Bottas had he stayed in Formula One the first time round.
I'd agree he deserved a longer go than he got, in the same way as I think Anthony Davidson deserved a longer go in Formula One, or I suppose Paul Di Resta is probably the closest comparison, because I think Di Resta and Ocon are probably quite similar level drivers. But like when I know Di Resta had that one race in Hungary, didn't he, for Williams? But when he fell out of Formula One and he was trying to get back in, he hadn't done enough in his Formula One career to show that he could get back in the door, and that's what I think. That's what I think with Ocon. I don't think he did enough first time round to show that he was good enough to come back, and that's why I think that, coupled with what's going to be by the time he gets back in the car now, not just a season out, a year and a half out of Formula One, or out of motorsport as well. That's the difference. He hasn't been racing anything. He's been sat on the pit wall, hasn't he, with Toto Wolff most of the time. It's going to be interesting to see what he does.
I think the thing is with Ocon, though, I think as well, it wasn't just... I don't think he lost his seat because there was a lack of pace or anything like that. I think it was more his inability to be a teammate and how often he came into Perez and the tangling with Verstappen. Daddy Stroll as well. But
so what you're trying to say is that between him, Cyril Abiteboul, and Alonso, those personalities should get on amazingly.
Oh yes, him and Alonso as teammates that could end Renault in F1. We know they're on the verge of pulling out anyway. If that goes horrific and Alonso starts calling that car a GP2 car, that will probably be Renault off again for however long.
No, that's the thing. Alonso's been in that many different series. He'll shout out things like Indy Lights or GTM. He'll forget where he is.
Well,
I mean, you'll be able
to Mercedes as well, because it's kind of the same conversation, this, isn't it? Because if it's not Alonso going to Renault, if it's not Alonso going to Renault, like Vettel's going to be on the shopping list.
I can't see Vettel going to Renault.
He turned McLaren down, apparently.
Vettel did.
Well, McLaren has said that they never considered him. Although,
I suppose if someone says they're not interested, then you won't consider them.
Yeah, but there was a very brief chat, and the answer was no, because apparently McLaren. I think that may have come from somewhere else within McLaren, actually. So I think they've probably contradicted themselves here, because they said that Zach Brown said that they hadn't considered Sebastian Vettel. And then I think somebody else had said that they didn't think that they could produce a winning car within 3 years, so Sebastian went no.
Did they forget to switch Martin Whitmarsh's email account off when he left?
He just tried it one day for a joke.
Still logged in. It's like when... It's like
found his old BlackBerry.
It's like a mate of mine. He changed companies, and for 3 years they didn't ask for his car park fob off him, so he got free parking at the expense of his old employers every day.
Ace.
I think I know where Vettel could end up.
Mercedes.
Alpha.
No, it's too close. Too close to Ferrari. This is not a harmonious separation.
I don't know.
I would agree,
because I think Kimi will actually go at the end of the year. I think he'll finally retire.
There's no chance. The only reason Vettel will stay in Formula One is if he's going to be in a car capable of winning, and essentially to redeem his legacy. He's not going to do that in an Alfa Romeo.
It's Mercedes or nothing, I think, for Vettel.
Yeah, I think he'll get it as well. It makes sense.
I don't know. I can just see him driving an Alfa.
The reason, because it kind of goes against what I was thinking about Toto leaving or Mercedes pulling out, because if Mercedes aren't pulling out of Formula One, then it works for Mercedes, because you're not going to have the season that Mercedes probably wanted to evaluate George Russell. And to be fair, he's probably not going to have the car again for Mercedes to evaluate him properly. By getting Vettel in on a two-year deal, Toto Wolff said in the interview today that it's a massive marketing opportunity to have him drive for Mercedes. It would be interesting. I think both Vettel and Hamilton are mature enough drivers to fight for a championship between the two of them, and it not go Rosberg Hamilton way.
Baku 2017.
I'm sure that's what people said about Senna and Prost as teammates.
Maybe, yeah, but I just think that it would be. I don't think it would be fun, for either of them. But I think it would be more manageable than Rosberg Hamilton, purely because Vettel's probably a bit better than Rosberg, and I don't think you'd need quite as many mind games going on with inter-team politics. Is what Nico needed to do to win a championship.
Do you know who'd be the net winner out of that? I think Max Verstappen.
Red Bull.
Max Verstappen.
Probably. But what allows Toto Wolff to do with his newfound shares in Aston Martin is to get George Russell into an Aston Martin next year, where he knows there's going to be some sort of technical hookup with Mercedes. He's probably going to have a solid mid-grid car to show everybody what he can do, and then they can assess George for 2021, 2022. Because I reckon Vettel would get a 2021 contract with a 2022 option, or the option on Mercedes' side.
You've just got to wonder with that scenario, though, which Aston Martin Point Force Jordan Spiker driver would get the boot. Because, I mean, Perez brings in an absolute fortune. All right, Daddy Stroll's completely loaded. But would Lawrence Stroll get rid of his own son?
Of course he would. He's a businessman. He's in that team now, not just for his son. He's in that team because he wants to be a Formula One team owner. I think Stroll will be gone this year or the end of the year.
I also would agree that Stroll is on a bit of a clock, because you don't go recruiting shareholders like Toto Wolff if you're in it just for lols.
No.
How long before we see, this is further down, but we'll do this now, how long before we could potentially see the Aston Martin IndyCar team with Lance Stroll driving it, just to give him something to do? Maybe that could be the Daddy Stroll lols.
He's obviously not like, he's not a great Formula One driver. He's not, he doesn't deserve to be in Formula One, but he's obviously not a bad racing driver.
He's better than he's better than Kamui Kobayashi.
I could see whatever the supercar thing, if anything happens with that, or Aston Martin running like a Le Mans car, like a GT car.
There was going to be the hypercar, but then there isn't. Then there might be. Then there won't be.
They've got something else now, and it's got lots of letters in it.
Yeah.
LMP.
Well, is it going to merge with DTM as well? Is that the idea?
I think DTM are merging with the Japanese one.
Super GT.
So they want their cars to both be essentially the same, so that they could flip between the two.
Oh, it's IMSA.
It's IMSA is the one that WEC is trying to combine itself with.
That sounds like some sort of agency that you would complain about TV programs to.
What, IMSA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my opinion on the whole Stroll thing. I think Lawrence Stroll's investment is in his son. He wants that dream of daddy-son world champion. And I don't know. I know you keep saying he's smart, he's a businessman, etc. But I honestly think he's one of these people who thinks if I just keep throwing money at this, eventually it'll happen.
I don't know. I don't think you get to where he is by being an idiot. And the other thing is as well, if you're constantly throwing your son into something that he's not good at, I think you'd be worried. I think you would be worried throwing him into Formula One year and year and year, and him not improving, because it's a dangerous sport. So you'd want what was best for him, and you'd want him to succeed. And if he's not succeeding, you're not going to be happy. So
it's available. It's available online.
See it.
It's available online. I think you can find it on YouTube. Have a look for an ESPN documentary called The Marinovich Project. It was about this NFL quarterback who basically was bred to be a quarterback by his dad. He had him playing with a toy football while he was still in his cot, and basically just drilled it into him from when he could walk that he was going to be an NFL quarterback. And the poor guy didn't know any different. I think his first overdose was when he was 25.
Yeah, it sounds like a more like extreme situation what this is. I mean, we see the whole like soccer mom and like sports parents thing all the time, don't we? But I don't think that you're not talking about someone that can't do it. You're talking about somebody that is clearly a talented racing driver. He's just not a Formula One driver.
It just depends if his dad can see that or not.
But like Sean said, I don't think you get people like Toto Wolff like jumping on board for. I don't think you buy Aston Martin either. I think because you would just continue to fund.
It's a big investment, isn't it?
Don't forget the shares that Toto's got are non-voting.
They are, but he says he was recruiting people for financing for that thing. But you could go and get anyone for financing. He just happens to get someone who also understands F1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, it's going to play out over a long time, and I think it's going to be painful to watch.
I don't think it'll be painful because it's not.
The most painful.
It's not like Stroll is unbelievably crashy, is it? You know, it's not like he's just going around doing stupid things all the time. He's just not quick enough.
He's not quick enough, and he never checks his mirrors.
No, but especially if that car's good this year. If it ends up being like fourth, fifth, third best car on the grid, whatever it ends up being, we know Perez is going to constantly stick that car on the podium where it can go. You know, we know he's going to get like a Nico Rosberg sort of driver. He's a really good yardstick of where a car can be. So if Lance Stroll is going to get destroyed by him, and it's going to be so obvious.
I think for Lance Stroll to lose his seat there, he would have to be completely and utterly annihilated and annihilate himself.
But he's been annihilated. Like he's been annihilated all the time. But he's been annihilated in not a particularly good car. The difference is this time he's going to be annihilated in a car that seems to be like upper half of the midfield from the word go. So if he's qualifying 8th and Perez is 4th, you know, that's a huge gap. And I don't think he'd want to do it. You even as a driver. You want to succeed, and there must be a point. There's a point there where people realize they can't do things. I think that's approaching old Stroll.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. We'll do the IndyCar thing now because I already mentioned it as a possibility for Aston Martin, which I think could happen because the cost of running an IndyCar team are considerably lower than running an F1 team. And
I think we'll see a few more Formula One teams getting interested in it as well.
Obviously, McLaren are kind of doing both in their partnership, but now Ferrari are looking at it.
Yeah, this kind of came out of the blue, didn't it, a bit? This was an announcement I don't think anyone really saw coming.
They're evaluating the possibility, aren't they? They're not seriously like, how do we build an Indy car? Because you don't have to. Because they get built for you.
Yeah, and they've already built one in the past.
Have?
Yeah, I read something, and I can't remember where. I will look it up at some point. But yeah, Ferrari actually had an IndyCar project going a few years back, and got as far as building a prototype car, but never actually saw a track.
Lamborghini used to produce engines, didn't they, for IndyCar way back in I'm talking like 90s. But I wasn't aware of any other European intervention in IndyCar, really, other than when it was, on the Grand Prix calendar.
It appears to have been called the Ferrari 637.
Ah, good old Ferrari with their
catchy
sensible names. Yeah.
Yeah, 1986, tested and unveiled to the press.
Okay, fair enough.
They
have previous. Obviously, Ferrari going in.
Forget everything I just said. I'm just reading on a Dutch RTL. Schnafneuer has said that they are expecting to keep Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez for 2021.
Yeah, but he can't badmouth the boss's son, can he? He kind of has to say
I suppose, yeah.
I mean,
not immediately.
Look at the last person in that organisation to say things were a little bit difficult. Has anyone seen Bob Fernley recently?
Well, he was the McLaren IndyCar guy, wasn't he? And then Alonso didn't qualify, and then no one's seen him since that.
Yeah, I think he's one of the new bridges on the M6.
Maybe
never mind that. What happened to Vijay Mallya?
He's one of the bridges on the M7.
Is he in jail?
He's not in the concrete. He's just disguised as a bridge to try and get away with it.
Maybe Ahmad just confuses people because they're looking at him going, "You look and sound American, but your name is clearly German. What are you?"
Like Gunther Steiner. Very Italian sounding and very German name.
So yeah, Ferrari have built an IndyCar before, albeit 34 years ago. And if they came into IndyCar, they would probably... I can't see them using anybody else's engine, so they'd be providing their own. Because
it's a power play.
You wouldn't have a Ferrari with a Chrysler or a Honda engine in.
No, but is this just a power play to Formula One? Be to show like, look, could you, if Ferrari goes to IndyCar and stays in Formula One, it cheapens the importance for Formula One of Ferrari being there. You know, it means Ferrari isn't there. Like the jewel for Formula One, like people think it is.
Well, the theories that I've read is it's all down to Italian employment law.
Right. I'm going to have to expand on that. But you can't just leave it there.
No, I'm going to explain. Because of the budget cap, Ferrari are going to have to lose some staff in a variety of departments that design.
And we know how
design and make the car
lose staff.
They are the bridges on the autostrada.
But not the ones that collapse.
Yeah. Until Dan gets to them.
We don't mention that.
So, Italian companies apparently making somebody redundant in Italy or laying staff off is nigh on impossible to do if the company is in a position of making profit, and Ferrari have been reporting profits. So to give the staff something to do, they're looking at setting up an IndyCar team so that they don't have to get rid of the staff, because it's the Williams gearbox thing. It will actually be cheaper to set up an entire team to run a separate racing series, whether that car actually gets as far as a track or not. But it's cheaper to do that than it is to let them go because of the redundancy payments and legal fees.
It's a very Ferrari thing to do as well, isn't it?
And do you know what? Like, what could go better than something Ferrari haven't got their heart in doing?
Is this potentially as well a bit of a sort of clever accounting thing for when the salary cap does come in? If you've got suddenly people, oh no, they're not Ferrari employees, they're not doing work for Ferrari, they're Ferrari IndyCar. Oh, that just happens to have an F1 application as well. We'll borrow that.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
McLaren Technologies, Williams Applied Technologies. Sorry, McLaren Automotive, Williams Applied Technologies.
Red Bull Technology.
Yeah.
They've all got one.
Let's face it. If there's a way to like bend the rules slightly, like Ferrari will cheat.
What you're saying is we can bend the rules by 3 or 4 degrees before we totally break them. Let's bend them by 29 degrees.
There will come a day, you know, where they'll just rock up with 3 cars on the grid. Like, what are you doing? Shh.
Nobody said we couldn't.
No. Everybody said you couldn't. No, they didn't.
We weren't at that meeting. We vetoed that resolution. Still the ultimate.
Therefore it stands.
Still the ultimate Ferrari one is, well, nobody said there was an absolute number limit on rear wings that you could have on the car. You just said how wide the rear wings were meant to be.
Just turn around and you throw it. Hasn't even got wheels on it. Nah, we vetoed physics.
So, will we ever see a Ferrari IndyCar on track? I'm saying no. We'll see it unveiled. We'll see it tested. They've decided to abandon the project, and all the staff are now being redeployed to other areas of the company. Or
I don't even think it'll get that far.
Or they'll set up a separate company to run IndyCar, transfer all the staff that don't have a role in F1 in it anymore. Oh, it didn't work. It's the company's losing money. We can let them go, and it won't cost us anything now.
Maybe
It'll be some kind of loophole that they're exploiting.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, typical Ferrari. Right.
It does sound like Ferrari.
Right, calendar. It's getting closer. We now know what the first 4 races are going to be and when they are going to be.
2 in Austria.
Kind of. Yeah, 2 in Austria, the 5th and the 12th of July, with F2 and F3 as well.
Yes.
Then a week's break on the weekend of the 19th of July, and depending on UK quarantine, because F1 are in discussions with the UK government at the moment, 2 races in Silverstone on the 26th of July and the 2nd of August.
Which is...
And Sean's going into quarantine.
Oh, excuse me. I think it's just I've got a cat on my lap and it's kicking up a load of hair.
Yeah, the government have to ratify the 2 races at Silverstone behind closed doors. Silverstone have agreed it with F1, and that's wonderful. But
because it was looking dubious this time last week because Silverstone were after more money.
Yeah, but apparently an agreement has been made, probably after we called Silverstone idiots last week. And it appears that we're just waiting on government ratification, even though it's going to be behind closed doors.
Because it looks like the UK...
still can't.
Because it looks like the UK government are now going to enforce a 14-day quarantine period on anyone coming into the country.
Not just that, it also breaks mass gathering rules, even in a garage.
Yeah, it's true.
So, Hockenheim are in a standby position.
Hang on a second. Don't the mass gathering rules... isn't there a grey area there since the going back to work thing? If you're working and your job entails like you can't get around mass gatherings, I think that's okay.
If the government has said it's okay for that sector, so they're having to actually apply to the UK government to get F1 sort of classified as exempt.
Automotive, because the automotive sector's gone back to work in the UK this week.
Let's be fucking honest here, right? We've got a Tory government. There is no sport more Tory than Formula One. It is the most Tory sport in the world.
Polo.
What?
Polo.
No.
Yachting.
Nowhere near as much money in that than there is in Formula One. Toryest sport in the world. That'll go through without anyone even noticing it. I don't think the fact that whenever you hear people like Martin Brundle and Chase Carey now talking about things, I know he said that there was a slight chance of no racing, but whenever there's talk now of it, everything seems so certain what is going forward with. I just can't see that calendar not happening now.
I think there's a good chance. I mean, Hockenheim have said that they are on standby for any European races as well, because the big problem at the moment seems to be Holland. Because
Zandvoort said if it wasn't going to be on the original date, which has come and gone, then it wasn't going to be held.
Yeah, Zandvoort is not on the new calendar.
But the last thing Zandvoort was saying was, we want a race, but we don't want it behind closed doors, and if that's the only option, we're not going to have one.
They appear to have gone with that.
We there doesn't have to be a Zandvoort for there to be a Formula One. It's they haven't had a Formula One race there for years. Then I'd imagine they'll just have to wait for 2021.
True. I'm sure they'll still fill the circuit as well with all the crazy Verstappen fans. I think they'll still be there in 2021.
There's a good chance. Have you got the rest of the calendar in front of you?
I have, yes. you want me to go through it?
Yes, please.
It's Austria, 5th of July and 12th of July. Britain/Hockenheim, 26th and the 2nd. Hungary on the 9th of August. Spain on the 23rd of August. Belgium on the 30th of August.
Now, this one is because of special government
so Belgium have banned all sport until the start of September, but they've decided because the 30th of August and it's all behind closed doors, it's close enough, it'll be fine.
It's also in the middle of nowhere as well.
It is, helps. Yeah. It's not exactly like they're in a sprawling metropolis at Spa, is it? 6th of September, Italian GP. 20th of September, Azerbaijan. 27th, Russia. 4th of October, China. 11th of October, Japan. 25th of October, US. 1st of November, Mexico. 8th of November, Brazil. 22nd of November, Vietnam. That's come back.
Oh, that's now back on the list.
It is back. And then 29th of November, Bahrain. 6th of December, also Bahrain. 13th of December, Abu Dhabi.
I think the thing to remember as well is, although the UK is still a bit of a shit show when it comes to coronavirus, even though the cases are going down now, aren't they? Every day the cases are going down. Lots of the rest of the world are kind of getting on top of this now. We were like the way it swept across. It was kind of hitting the UK and then into America were the sort of last countries to be affected by it. So, the countries that we're sending Formula One to are well ahead of where the UK are. I think it's quite easy to forget that.
That is true. I mean, obviously, Korea seems to have done a great job in dealing with it, but we don't want another race there.
No, it was not a good track, that was it?
It wasn't that it wasn't a good track. It was the race was always. Racing was always terrible, and the commentators were underground in a bunker underneath the track, and there was nothing for miles anywhere near the circuit. So there was no infrastructure, nothing at all. Well, it was literally just a racetrack.
Well, they built the circuit before they built the city that it was going to go in, and then they ran out of money to build the city.
This always goes wrong, doesn't it? There's been a few Formula One tracks where it was like, yeah, we'll build the city later, it'll be fine. Wasn't India supposed to have a city built
that one's in the
it?
Middle of nowhere as well, isn't it? Yeah. Turkey as well, was that another one of those?
I think
yep.
it might.
It's not that far from Istanbul, actually. I don't think the Turkish one,
but it was in the middle of an industrial estate or something.
Was it?
They missed a trick. They missed a trick with my suggestion of what they should have done with the Korean Grand Prix, is that you have a Grand Prix that covers both North and South Korea going through no man's land. And when you get to the wall, essentially the track is a mirror image of itself. And what you'd find is that the times to get around the other half of the track would be like half a second quicker, just to get out of North Korea.
But then a North Korean driver would win it every year, so what would be the point?
Yeah, but they probably do anyway in North Korea.
One had happened.
No, that's true.
Kim Jong-un is like the 10-time Formula One world champion in North Korea. Have you not heard this?
Oh, right, okay.
Is he still alive?
Or allegedly.
Even dead, he would still be wiping the floor with Lewis Hamilton.
Mate, did you not read it? Did you not read about it? That the reason he hadn't been seen is because he was hauled up with like 200 concubines. He's just been sitting downstairs watching coronavirus and slinging dick for months.
Oh,
fair enough.
Oh, the story that I read was he was stuck indoors and couldn't go out because his gout had flared up. No,
that's me, Paul.
No, it was him. It was him as well.
That's a completely different dictator.
No,
apparently
you and your foot are in very good company.
I'd go and meet Kim. I think it would be an interesting afternoon. It'd be an interesting podcast. I'd have him on Must See Audio.
Christ, I didn't even listen to that one.
I'd try not to meet him and then later on go, he's a great leader. I'd try and stay away from that one, but I'd have him on.
And we're back in Patreon territory. So
that's next week's episode of Must See Audio then, is it, Lee?
I hope so. Kim, if you're listening, I will have you on anytime.
I'd be very surprised if he's listening.
Yeah,
I'd prefer to do it over Skype.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's listening. I'd be surprised if anyone else in North Korea was listening.
I would like a dead man switch if I have to go to see you.
I haven't actually seen any download figures from North Korea, so I can't check this. I'll look at the numbers afterwards. Sorry, number.
It's okay. I don't think you can get it on Kimnet.
Oh dear God, that has thrown me off completely. Where are we going next? Oh yes, sim racing. We are well on that bandwagon now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we are driving that bandwagon around a variety of circuits all across the world on our own computers.
I'm pretty into it. Like, I'm pretty excited. I've really missed it. Not like having the sore foot. I've really missed not being able to do it because I can't press the brake pedal, so I can't do it.
What are you a left foot or a right foot breaker?
Left foot.
Ah, you say I've been right foot braking, so you're gonna have to learn to do it. You do that in your car, well, your van.
It was good enough for Barrichello, wasn't it, for his whole Formula One career?
What, right foot braking?
Yep.
Really? He never used his left foot at all?
Yeah. No. I don't even know why I remember it. I remember it being said when he was in Williams that he just always done it and he hadn't been slow, so he just kept doing that.
Interesting.
It's a strange one because you at some points especially during racing, they don't like you doing it with the karts here for some reason up at Derby. But you are supposed to sort of have a little bit of pressure on the brake whilst pushing the throttle at the same time.
Don't ask me.
Maybe not when it gets to the top end, Formula One and all that.
I don't know. I've just got a nasty habit of coming last or nearly last in every race that I've done, apart from the official ones. So there are drivers out there worse than me, but not that listen to this podcast by the looks of things.
You have bad luck. That's your problem, I think.
I was actually upside down before turn 1 on Saturday.
I watched.
I swore.
Yeah, I didn't have the volume on, unfortunately. I couldn't hear you.
I'm really glad you didn't have the volume on, just in case you had Shunt Jr. in the room. He'd have learnt some new words. Even with you as a father, he'd have learnt some new words. But no, we had. Want to thank Matt Steele for helping us sort all this out, because we had some. We had some fantastic racing this Saturday as well. We did the Laguna Seca Crash Fest, as we called it. And this weekend, we are doing, I guess it is the second leg of the 3 legs, 4 wheels iRacing Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Because we've had Indy, and on the day that it would have been the Indy 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix, the other 2 parts of the Triple Crown, we're having the 90 minutes of Le Mans.
There isn't a Monaco. Is there a Monaco on iRacing?
No, we're going to have to find a suitable alternative for that, and at the moment my favourite is possibly Silverstone.
Yeah, maybe.
Being the sort of where the Formula
Why is there
One
no
World
Monaco?
Champions.
Is it like the Azuri Coast
Nürburgring.
on Project Cars?
No, it's because they laser scan all the circuits, and obviously laser scanning Monaco, the circuit's only actually up and fully configured for 4 or 5 days every year, and it's just fine.
Yeah.
It's actually being allowed to do it and find the time. So there's a limited number of street circuits on there, and
It has to be Nordschleife.
oh,
That has to be the third thing of the Triple Crown.
oh my God!
It has to be,
For
doesn't it?
an
When you look
endurance
at the tracks
effort.
that are available.
Yeah, I mean, people are pointing out that Project Cars 2 has Monaco, but everybody would need to be on the same platform. At least with iRacing, it's only on one platform. So,
Yeah. Is it called Monaco, or is it called the Azure Coast or something?
it's
Isn't
the
it on
Azure,
Project Cars?
it's the Azure Coast on
Yeah.
Project Cars because they didn't get the rights.
Was this like in the NFL game where it's the London Stadium?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Or the other one on Project Cars, the Triangle Raceway.
Ah, yes.
What's that?
The tricky triangle at Pocono.
I have no idea what that is.
The one where Robert Wickens got seriously injured and IndyCar have dropped because it's way too dangerous.
Oh, right.
Kind of like an oval, but not oval.
It's a triangular oval.
Ha. whatever one of those is.
That is the most IndyCar thing I've ever heard. Is it still a NASCAR track?
Yes.
I bet it's still a NASCAR track.
Of course it is.
Sorry, there was a ceasefire. God damn it.
No, of course it's a NASCAR track. It's big and it's got left turns. That's not being nasty about NASCAR. That's just saying what NASCAR is.
No,
the
esports.
The ceasefire still holds, but going back to esports, yeah. So we've had a couple of races, and we're going to be doing the 90 minutes of Le Mans on iRacing. If anybody wants in, drop us a message, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, or Twitter DM at 3legs4wheels, and we'll put you on the list. It's any GTE cars or any LMP1s. So we're doing our first multi-class race. That's going to be Sunday at 8 o'clock UK time.
Cool.
Right, Lee, have you got your iPad kicking about?
I have. Here we go. Well, I haven't got my iPad, I've got my phone. Is that all right?
That'll do.
Can we deal with that?
Yeah, I'm just going to hide the Discord chat so I can see that I'm not seeing anyone playing along. Right.
This one's been sent in by frequent shunter Mr. O Nasty.
This is always a tricky one.
Very nasty.
They started off. His name was harder than his clues. Now it's the other way around. Because we know how to pronounce his name.
See, I joked last week that he sent in last week's one, but he's actually sent this week's one in for reals.
Yeah. I was born.
Yay!
This is the correct way to start.
Just before you get into this, I am speaking to somebody who is working on a shunt, and he's got a name that the over/under on you getting it right is 5 goes.
5?
All right, 12.
I'll make his name up. Fine, I'll just make his name up. I don't understand what's going to happen here. It's obvious.
Yeah, we're going to keep recording until you can say it.
I think we're ready.
We can start now.
Where's the questions?
Maybe.
I was born in 1959.
Okay.
Right, okay.
I began driving when I was 7, and by the age of 12, I had my own car. That is irresponsible parenting.
When I was 11, I was at school with some kid whose both his parents were officers in the RAF, and he claimed he had his own plane. It turned out it was an absolute bullshitter.
Yeah, of course. My active years began in 1979. Don't know if that's like sexually active or motor racing.
So that's like 19 years old then. That was even... a
late bloomer for both.
Well, depending on what level that is of motorsport, it could be that could be very feasible.
If you've got a car at 12, you would think you'd be into your racing before you get to sort of 19, 20-ish.
Yeah, but it depends. Professional racing, maybe. Amateur levels all the way up to then, and then a professional from then onwards.
Sorry about the sound effects. Sean's breaking up a cat fight. Actually, that was going to be the opposite of a fight if Bruno got his way.
That was going to be active.
Oh dear.
Anyway, we're looking for somebody who may have started late and is going to be 61 this year.
Yeah.
How old's Damon Hill?
He's around about that age.
Yeah, that sounds about the right age for Damon Hill.
It is. Has Lee just disappeared?
61, I don't think he's quite that old.
He's not far off.
He was 30... Oh, yeah, maybe. He was 33 in 93, I think. So he could be.
Yeah, so yeah, he would be...
He would be about the right age, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, should we go Damon?
Let's go for Damon.
Damon for the first guess?
Why not?
I drove for 6 different manufacturers.
Okay.
Brabham, Williams, Arrows.
Jordan, Arrows.
Jordan.
That's not necessarily specifically F1 manufacturers.
Yeah, there's going to be some F3000 and British F3 and
Probably Ford.
Yeah.
I have 23 victories and 75 podiums.
I think Damon Hill had 22, or if I remember rightly, from the Three Legs Four Wheels quiz night a few weeks back.
22, I think, was mentioned.
It was. And that must have been the right answer, because Sean didn't pull me up on it when I sent him all the questions for proofreading.
I was at one point the youngest world champion in my sport. I'd like a guess.
I'll bet you would. Yeah, I think we're not looking at Damon Hill.
No.
But somebody the same age.
Yeah. I've got nothing at the minute.
I was the
No,
youngest
me
world
neither.
champion in my sport, so are we suggesting this might be someone who's done something else first? And then ventured into the motorsport?
Yeah, it sounds like it could be. But what sport?
I don't know. I'm going to go with something you'd be good at as a teenager before you then go into your motorsport career from 20.
Being grumpy.
I'm really confused by
I'm
this one.
very confused.
Yeah.
I might be confusing the situation more with my sort of out loud hypothesizing, but
I was going to go for logic, but hey, if the cap fits. Yeah, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. Anybody else?
Yeah, I haven't
no,
got anything either.
Nothing.
I'm
Nothing
trying to
concrete.
think maybe it's somebody in a different sport.
As to what?
I'm not sure how hard this is going to be as it goes on, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not letting you bank a guess. So you can ditch it and say, fuck knows, and we can move on. But I'm not letting you bank a guess because I think this is going to get more... maybe not more obvious. It's going to be trickier, but there's going to be more doors open for you as we go.
Should we just say fuck it then and move
Yeah,
on?
I think moving on
Yeah,
might be
that's
the
fine.
smart option.
Yeah.
No driver has been able to repeat my feat of becoming world champion with 3 different manufacturers.
So, with 3 different manufacturers. So we're definitely not looking at F1 world champion,
No.
are we?
I don't think so.
I have a very recognisable moustache, which I don't sport anymore.
What?
Well, Mansell was famous for having a tash.
Yeah, but he grew his back. Mansell was world champion. I think he's also older than 60,
I think
61.
he is.
I'm just trying to think who else Mansell would have been world champion with. Williams, Newman Haas.
And he's been a golfing world champion as well.
Oh, Dunlop.
People
Dunlop
forget
and
this.
Ping
He is
then.
actually the senior golf world champion. Or he has been in the past.
Has he been the youngest senior golf world champion?
I don't know. I have no idea. He was quite old when he made world champion in Formula 1, wasn't he? I think he was 40 when he won the championship in 92.
Well, I mean, if you enter the Senior Golf World Championships the day of, it starts on the day of your birthday when you hit that age and win it.
Yeah, also that doesn't match up with being born in 59, so it can't be Nigel Mansell.
No, but he's always been middle-aged, so he might have been born at 59.
Yeah, maybe.
There, we have a cat snootling up against the desk situation.
Oh, it's a danger times.
Yeah, she's having a
So-
she's having a danger snootle.
sometimes it's even more dangerous to try and move them. Number 9.
Yes, please.
You have two more guesses left and a spaffer. I have the world speed record for driving on ice at 330 kilometers an hour in a Bentley Continental super. I almost said Superstar, and then I tried to correct myself, and I almost said Superstar again. Super Sports.
So this is probably someone of the rallying world. That sounds like their kind of thing, fannying about on
Nordic.
ice. Yes.
Bearing in mind the nationality of the sender.
That is true. Yes. You don't want to sort of typecast.
Juha Kankkunen.
No, you are Kankkunen.
Oh, gee, right. Bye.
I'm not going to top that one, am I?
No.
When I was 51, I finished an impressive 8th in the 16th Rally of Finland in 2010.
When I was how old? 51.
51 years of age.
I think you might.
2010.
You might be right on that. It sounds about the right age because.
No, I think Juha Kankkunen was actually quite a bit. That means Juha Kankkunen would have been like 31 in the early 90s. I think he was even older than that then.
Tommy Mäkinen.
Maybe could be Tommy Mäkinen. Who's he won world championships for though? I think it's only Mitsubishi, maybe.
Just throw Ford and Subaru in there because they always win rallies.
Would you like to go in with a guess? Would you like to go in for the pride guess now, or would you like the spaffer?
It's a moderate shout, I think.
Go with that one then, Tommy Mäkinen.
Yeah, Tommy Mäkinen. Why not?
I'm Juha Kankkunen.
Damn. Santera, you got us again.
11 spaffer was I drove for and including Lancia, Salbert, and Toyota, where my co-driver was the none other than Nicky Grist.
Yes.
Yeah,
like legendary pairing. Bloody hell.
I thought you had that as soon as Flood said it. I thought, oh, this is it. We've got it. We've got it. And then, yeah.
I would have got it. I probably would have got it with the spaffer, to be fair. But yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of. We talked ourselves out of that one. No, that was a good one. How do you send in a shunt?
You can tweet me at a total shunt in a private message, or you can send me a private message on that Instagram thing.
That thing where the photos live.
Yeah, if you really want to get excited about it, you can do it in interpretive dance and send it to me on TikTok.
Are you on
Chris?
You just faded away there.
I've toyed with the idea of using it for podcast promotion, but I haven't done it yet. I'm not quite sure how to do it without anywhere near useful. That's what I'm
gonna be honest here. I'm old, okay, but I know I'm old because I see youths sharing TikTok videos on other platforms, and I'm like, don't get it.
No. Well, the funny thing is, I was looking at videos on there today, and it seems to be getting Facebooked where the grown-ups are getting involved in it, and I can't help think that these poor 14, 15-year-olds thinking, oh, fuck off, get away from our thing immediately.
The other thing, of course, that stops you doing TikTok is it's mainly for doing, like you say, interpretive dances, and that's not really your strong point at the moment, is it?
Not right. Well, you don't know. Maybe it would help.
If you want to get in touch with the rest of us, I've already given the email address out, but I'll do it again. 3legsfourwheels@gmail.com, and we're at 3legsfourwheels on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram thing. We're not on TikTok, and I don't think we plan to be. We've got the Discord server as well. Just get in touch, and I'll send you the link for that because it's a complicated one with letters and numbers. And obviously, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get to listen to this show a couple of days early. It comes out on a Monday night for patrons at the moment, and everybody else gets it on Wednesday. But if you want early access, or even to listen to it live when we do it on Discord every Monday night, Sign up to...
So you can hear all of the things that Paul edits out for the main podcast.
Do you know what? I tend to edit very little. It's usually adding extra things in when Tuesday news happens.
Well, tomorrow it's going to be Fernando Alonso getting confirmed for Renault, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm off work, so I can actually get the recording gear out first thing in the morning and do the edit, or as it turned out last week, do an entire extra show, 20-minute jump cut, and I hope everybody enjoyed the sound effects that I threw into it as well. I'll explain.
Oh, you put sound effects on it.
What I did was, we did that 20-minute extra show last week. I packaged that one up as one show for all the patrons. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do with this for the main show for everyone that's not heard it yet? So I stuck it on the front, and then put a tape rewinding noise in, and then put the show that we'd recorded on Monday in.
Ah, very good.
You know, sort of, I'm getting all old school UK garage here. Empty cans by the streets. There's a niche reference.
Very niche.
But yeah, if you want to listen to the show live as we're doing it while we're in the lockdown situation, or get to hear it on a Monday instead of a Wednesday, just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, like a lot of people have done, and sign up from as little as $1 a month, and you will get that. And we want to thank everyone that's joined us recently on Patreon, as well as all our existing patrons as well. Can't thank you enough for all your support. It's been it's genuinely been moving, hasn't it? Just
it has, yeah. Thank you very much for everyone's support, especially when up until now we haven't really had Formula One to talk about. So you've been supporting us, talking about ourselves, which is a bit strange. But thank you very much. It is very much appreciated.
That's great.
It's also nice to provide some sort of entertainment for people as well. You know, everyone's got loads of time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And this is why we've kept going. And thank you to everyone who's been getting in touch with us on social media as well. Really enjoying talking to people on Discord. I never thought I'd actually have a use for that, but fantastic app. So you should get on there more. If you want to get in touch with us individually, by the way, our individual Twitter handles are
at Sean Cowper,
at Flood21,
and at Pablo100. Just a reminder on the Formula Lee Challenge, because not mentioned that, even though we were talking about sim racing earlier. It's Monaco in the wet in the 2019 McLaren, and you've got until Monday the 25th, 7 o'clock UK time to get that into us. I think that about wraps it up for this week, doesn't it?
Pretty much.
So
yeah, if you're on Discord, hang around. We'll be in the voice chat straight after. God knows what we're going to talk about next week, because it hasn't happened yet. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be more F1 news coming out.
Facts.
We will have
almost
facts.
Definitely.
Yeah. Right. We'll see you next week. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.